of whatever you have within your district. So many of you received the email. That was a very lengthy email, but then also very cumbersome, asking a lot of you, and you feel free that you don't have to fill out the complete email and register and do all these different things. This program was designed for districts who may want more assistance, or if you're just on here for these few 1-hour meetings a month, that is perfectly acceptable as well. We just want to provide you with whatever supports we possibly can and meet your needs. The second thing is, within that welcome email, you should have received a OK Edge platform link. You can register for that. All of this information will be housed there, including recorded sessions of these videos. And so if you have other principals who are not able to make it, or if you have other individuals within your district who would love to show these to, feel free to access these recorded videos. We'll post those as well as these slide decks in OK Edge platform. You should have all received, or someone within your district who registered you should have received that information of how to do that. So if you want to take advantage of those, please feel free to do so. We'll get kicked off here in just a second. I wanted to remind you of our next meeting before I forget. We'll do that at the end as well. Our next meeting will be on September the 16th. We try to meet every 2 weeks. And the topics of our next meeting will be special ed considerations. And so how do we meet the needs of all of our special ed students in the virtual setting, as well as social emotional supports within the virtual setting. So we have 2 different topics like we try to do every meeting, so that you can choose from whichever topic you're more interested in. And again, if you are the only one from your district, please access the recordings on the OK Edge platform. I encouraged everyone through the email to feel free to have a team from your district join, so that way you can split off. One can go to the high school, one can go to the middle school, or whatever meets your needs. And then, again, we have plenty of room on this, so please feel free to do that. At this time, Karen, did I forget anything? Is there anything else that you would like to make an announcement before we introduce our speakers today?
I think you've covered it all.
Okay. Mr. Glover, anything from COSA's end and the partnership with y'all?
No, we just appreciate the opportunity. We've got a lot of schools we've been working with. Of course, we deal on the administration end, but we're trying to work with principals now to work with their teachers and implementing quality blended instruction. So we're excited about being a part of this.
And then one thing I thought of, I should have had a script, but if y'all know me, that doesn't usually work out well. The one thing I thought of, you should be receiving a newsletter every week.
Did you rejoin?
And so if you did not receive that newsletter, every week you will get the upcoming meetings and the Zoom link within that newsletter. I had a couple email me today going, where is the Zoom link? That is always going to be posted in the newsletter that you should get once a week. So if you didn't receive that, someone within your district did, whoever registered you. So I will need your contact information if you did not receive that newsletter. You feel free to email me. I will place my email into the chat box here in a little bit so that you'll have access, or email Karen and have access to that. Okay. With that being said, I wanted to get to our actual programs today. The only way to facilitate this, everything has its limitations, and with Zoom, there's always limitations as well, as y'all know, trying to do this with your students. The only way that we could facilitate this with this many people and record this option is to have 2 different Zoom meetings. So if you are interested, and I'm going to say this very slowly, not to doubt your intelligence so that everyone catches this. If you are interested in the coding and NCAA compliance, so the secondary piece, please stay on this Zoom, the Zoom we're currently on. You'll be hearing from our academic counselor, executive director of academic counseling. She will take you through that. If you're interested in the elementary piece of this session, you will be joining a different Zoom meeting. We will drop in just 1 second the link to that other Zoom meeting for the elementary piece that's already up and running, and you will be directed to a different Zoom. You'll have to close this one out and you'll go to that next Zoom. It will direct you to do that. So again, I'm going to repeat myself. if you are interested in the elementary Zoom meeting, please click on that link. It'll take you to a different Zoom meeting. I want to make the announcement now that these will be recorded. So both Zoom meetings will be recorded for future reference. However, if you are interested in the NCAA compliance and coding, please stay on this Zoom and we'll go over those things. Karen, if you could go ahead and drop that in now.
Okay, the link for the elementary session is now in the chat box. When you click on that link, you will receive a message that says something similar to "you must end this first Zoom," and it should take you immediately from this Zoom into the elementary room, which is already open and ready.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started in just a few moments.
So I'm going to let that process finish out. I tried to make that as easy and smooth as possible. Hopefully it was. And we'll see how this works out in about the next 2 minutes. We're going to get started about 12:10 within this one. And so we'll see how that goes. But again, this session is over coding and NCAA compliance. Secondary piece. For your secondary students, elementary piece, please follow the Zoom link.
Aaron, before you go on, would you, before you go on, if anyone else joins this specific Zoom room, you may need to re-drop the link for the elementary because the chat box will not be accessible. Prior chats will not be accessible for new joinees. Okay?
Okay.
And then I'm going to join the elementary. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think that we have the people who want to be here. So again, I'm going to go ahead and get started with this meeting. I would like to introduce Petra Woodward. She is our executive counselor, or executive director of academic counseling here at SDE. Again, she has a very informative presentation, but please, this is a collaborative effort. I know she'll repeat this. If you have any questions, Petra is the one to ask. Please don't ask me. She's the expert on all of this. And so that's why we try to facilitate this with content area specialists so that they can answer your questions. So with that being said, Petra, it's all yours. Petra, I think you're on mute still.
The little red line said that too. Okay, well, good morning or afternoon. It's already been a long day, but it is hump day. So thank you for having me share this morning, Aaron, and I hope that the presentation meets the needs of the group. I think this is an amazing thing that you guys are doing with this network of learning to bring district leadership together so that they can all collaborate. I've been asked to speak to you on some academic guidance issues, online courses, coding, and athletic eligibility. So I am not the guru of all things on either of these topics, but I am very resourceful and have experience in dealing with both. I am Petra Woodard. I'm the Executive Director of Academic Counseling and Alternative Education in the State Department, housed in the Office of Student Support. Just a quick overview, and Aaron, you'll make sure and keep me on time here because I have a lot of information, but most of it is here so that you can access it later. We will not be going in detail over every slide, but I wanted to include enough information for you to have after this session. So I'm going to go over some academic guidance, online courses. We'll talk about athletic eligibility considerations in this virtual world and online learning. And then I always like to include our Return to Learn link so that people can have the most updated information and also some resources. So for academic guidance, first of all, just what guidance is, and this is what we do at the State Department. We provide guidance, especially in my office with dealing with counseling. So just to let you know that this information is to help you move along in your districts as you work with students and help them troubleshoot some of these issues that are going on. So this is what we do, is provide advice on these issues for you. Always want to go over the graduation requirements because this is the end goal. We need to consider this online learning. We need to consider how we're coding courses. because in the end, we want students to be able to graduate and graduate on time with as little difficulty as possible. So our college prep work ready curriculum, you all probably already know this. We require 23 units. That's our base. Some of your districts do require more than this, but this is what we require for students to graduate on the college prep work ready curriculum. The 4 English, 3 math, 3 science, 3 history, citizenship, 2 foreign language, or 2 technology, and the additional unit, which I will get into a little bit in this conversation, and also the fine arts or speech. I do want to let you know that speech is not a fine art. They can have a fine arts course or a speech course to meet that requirement. Our other pathway in Oklahoma, we do have 2 pathways, is the core. And traditionally, this was the track for the students who are not college bound. And so they have some different flexibilities in reaching their math and their science requirement. And I've listed some examples there, as well as they only need 1 unit of the technology and foreign language. Students do have to opt out of this pathway. And there's a link to a form that has to be signed by the parent and the student and school administration. I won't go to the link, but just know that that is there, and it should actually be done prior to the 9th grade year because they're opting out of their coursework for the college prep track for high school. And then you're aware of our non-credit elements. Personal financial literacy has to have that passport. Please work with your counselors and registrars to make sure that passport follows students when they leave your district. CPR and AED has to still be done, that training. And of course, ICAP for our freshmen and sophomores. It is a requirement for those graduating cohorts. All of these things are legislatively required, and none of them have been exempted due to COVID. I do get calls about CPR and PFL, and students are still required to have that as of now. I just put a picture of our graduation requirement checklist here. This is, and I will try to go to it just so you would know, because, and Aaron, let me know if people can see this or not.
Yes, that looks good. We can see it.
You can see the actual document on the website.
I can see the Oklahoma Edge 2024 College Prep Work Ready Curriculum Graduation Requirements.
Yes, so this is it. And it's fully editable, not eat-wise, but you can manipulate it and type into these boxes. This can be downloaded for students to upload in their OK Edge or OK College Start platforms as they track their information. I love the way we designed this. It has all of the legislative links on it, links to the most current subject codes for additional courses, where it says other approved courses. Counselors can use this and just go directly there. It provides tracking information for these other requirements. And so this is a very, very good tool as we're trying to get students to graduate, and the requirements for ICAP. So I just wanted you to be aware that this is here. There were no changes to our graduation requirements from the previous year. Aaron, what are you seeing on your screen now? The PowerPoint?
No, I still see the website.
Okay, we don't want to still see that. So I'm gonna go back here to the presentation. And you should see the subject codes and course labeling.
Correct.
Awesome. So this is essential information for today's discussion because we are talking about coding. And when you're setting up your online and districts are moving to their online platforms, we don't want you to create a whole separate list of courses and codes for your online courses. We have our state subject codes list here. They're published and updated every year. What I want to reinforce to you is make sure that whoever is responsible for updating your student information system, that they make sure and refer to these lists to keep those courses updated in the information system. The great thing that they've done, can you see the course codes or no? The actual document?
No, we still see your PowerPoint right now.
Okay, awesome. So now I know how I need to manipulate this. the subject codes document here has all of our subject codes that have been approved by SDE, and they have done a very good thing, as they have just said these are eligible for all diploma pathways. So the core or the college prep, these codes will work, or it will say eligible for elective credit only. And so that's important as you're making sure that students are going to meet their requirements, especially if they're on something like Oklahoma's Promise, where they need the college prep courses to count. And here are the computer science and technology courses. I get a lot of calls about which course code do we use for this course, because it's different in Edmonton, or it's different in Odyssey Way, or it's different. So when they have these questions, these are the course codes that we use. The CTE, the Department of Career Tech, has their own course codes. They have their own set of course codes that they use, and those teachers have to be CTE certified. And so here's just another example of what that document looks like. Make sure that these are updated. Your course, if you're offering, a student is taking a general music course online, that has those music components, this is the course code that they would use. And if they're having questions in the chat, they can feel free to drop those, Aaron, and just let me know.
Petra, I did have one question. So if the CMS, let's say it's Edgenuity, says it is called computer, desktop computer or something like that, do you just find the course code that would best fit that? Is that how you would handle that question?
That's exactly how you would do that. And if there's any type of standards where I'm not sure if this actually meets that course, like Computer Applications 1, sometimes they will have it called Fundamentals of Computer Applications, or it would just have a different name, but it would be meeting the same standards. What you don't want to do is, if the course is not an AP level course or an IB level course, you do not want to use those course codes. And that goes the same for your concurrent courses, your college courses. You use the regular course code. So if a student took college accounting, you would use one of these, our course codes. If they took US history, you would not use the AP history. You would use the the regular US history course code. I did provide the Career Tech courses, the link to their courses. They update that every year. And concurrent enrollment courses, they update those every year, and they're posted to their website. So just be mindful of the different course codes and whose codes belong to whom, because we don't give CTE credit. Those teachers have to be CTE certified in order to use those 8,000 level course codes. And I think I put yes. Here is a sample of their list that CTE has on their website. And their 8,000 level course codes are typically the courses designated for adults and students. And these courses can be taught either at the Career Tech or at the comprehensive high school. They've also identified which courses are Oklahoma's Promise, what type of academic credit it is, and where that instruction occurs. And so this is a very, very helpful document as they're trying to figure out what kind of credit that course is. And I'm going to make sure we get to the NCAA guidance. The transcript guidance, I wanted to share with you our transcript document. We do provide guidance on what to post to the transcript. We do get those kinds of questions regarding online courses. We have that information available. One of the things I wanted to point out is that we are in discussion again about coding an online course as online or OL, because we've gone to this mass virtual and online instruction. If that is actually going to be necessary right now. I know with the Oklahoma supplemental online courses, they encourage you to put the vendor names next to the course. And so that's another conversation. We'll speak a little bit about that here in a few slides. And I always like the link to NCAA, because they also have their guidelines, and I'm going to go over this but we want to provide counselors and people who deal with that access whenever they reach for their transcript guidance.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If our students are taking an online course in our district, but it's provided by our teachers, we're not using outside vendors, we're using an LMS to provide that content, would we still need to designate that online?
No.
Thank you.
And so that is what we are. It's more of a supplement. And so, but your teachers are driving that instruction. And I'm really going to hit hard on that. Your teachers are driving that instruction. It's not like a student is in credit recovery and they're taking this course from some other institution and it's standalone. That course needs to be identified. Okay. And I wanted to let you know that that document is out there. Some considerations, talked about AP courses. When you have those, they have their own set of course codes. We also track endorsement certificates and recognitions and things like that on the transcript. And so, nice little segue here, talking about online courses in reference to graduation tracking or course transcripting. Some considerations. I really like this quote. It's so applicable to today. In education, technology can be a life changer, a game changer for kids who are both in school and out of school. What we want to do is make sure that this is going to be a positive life-changing event for them as they're transitioning to this digital world, and making sure that they are resourced so that they can be successful, as well as our teachers. And I said, the Queen of Jordan, that is a real person, and that's just me. I just researched her before I used her quote. So just a review of some definitions. Distance learning, it may or may not include virtual instruction. So we have had to clarify that. Distance learning just means you're not at the brick and mortar. For some reason, such as COVID, that can be done through packets. It can be virtual, but it doesn't have to be. It just means that it is not at the site. The distance learning plan is what we have asked for districts to present to us, describing how they plan to deliver instruction outside of the traditional school setting. Now, blended virtual learning, which is what most of the schools are doing, virtual, that is the part that we are focusing on because it is internet based. And the question that was asked earlier, our teachers versus their teachers, that is the consideration that has to be made. We are having that discussion as well with our alternative education sites because part of the 16 criteria states how staff are actually selected to serve in those environments. And so with everyone switching to the virtual platforms, teacher and staffing, that is an important discussion that we have to have. It is defined as the use of the internet or other such digital information transmission systems as the primary medium of instruction. So that's what we're doing. And Aaron and I had spoke before about making sure you're checking the basis of admission when those students are enrolled, whether or not they are a completely virtual student or your district is just using a blended model with virtual learning.
Peter, I just want to jump in just real quick on that. The basis of admission, guys, that is a huge piece of this puzzle. You'll see that come in when we start doing, everything from attendance checks, FQSR, ASR, all the way to chronic absenteeism. So please, I can't plead with you enough. Make sure that you double check, even though we know your registrars do that, double check your students' basis of admission. And then using the proper attendance codes will be with whichever basis of admission they selected. And, towards the end of this presentation, if y'all still have questions over that, I'd be happy to address that for you. But I can't stress enough that this is new this year, has not been done before. For your full-time virtual or blended students, there is a different basis of admission code. First time we've done this. So please make sure y'all your registrars are following up on that. Thank you.
There you go. I said we want to make sure and hit that, and Aaron will have those questions because we're also asking the same thing of our alternative education programs, that they check those students and flag them as being part of the alternative education setting. And here's the about full-time virtual alternative education or full-time virtual. The student is enrolled full-time in an approved program. And for alt ed, that program has to meet the 16 criteria that are legislated. The student uses online for their environments and allows teachers and students to communicate. So at no time do we want a student just to be out in cyberspace, learning on their own. There needs to be teacher interaction, whether it's our teachers that we have assigned to that course, or whether it's the vendor teachers that are assigned to, that we're tracking and making sure that that student is engaged, because the ultimate goal is for the student to complete the course successfully and earn credit towards graduation. Credit recovery can be a component, but it is not the sole purpose for placing students in a virtual environment, especially with alternative education. Online course enrollment, just wanted to let you know that we have the Oklahoma Supplemental Online Course program is out there and has allotted students to take those courses online, can be taken inside the school day or outside of the school day. I speak to when students have Spanish in one district and they move to a district that doesn't teach Spanish, this is an avenue for them to be able to get that credit. So they're still required to do their seat hours, their 6-period day. That's not been waived, and districts should establish a policy, as Aaron stated before, regarding attendance. Online course completion. All existing requirements related to students is still the same as for the traditional student. Each local board, we can't stress enough about having policies in place that are going to support what you're doing with online course completion or any type of avenue where students can gain credit. Concurrent enrollment, career tech, all of that. Make sure that students who are on IEPs or 504s are still getting the accommodations and modifications that they need to have when they're doing online coursework. And we kind of hit on attendance, that coding, making sure that that's there. I wanted to make sure, because this is going to be reiterated in the NCAA information, is that the student is present, goes back to the quote about with Kobe, whether or not, oh, that's the next slide. The evidence of student and teacher course interaction, that has to be there. So again, we don't want to just put students on and say, here you go finish and hope you do well. And always are stressing with schools, we get a lot of calls about, do they have to take 6 courses? They only need 2 to graduate. Because we've gone to virtual, we get calls about seniors who only need 2 classes. Can they just take these 2 online classes and be finished? As a condition of receiving accreditation, all students in grades 9 through 12 must be enrolled in a minimum of 6 periods. So that has not changed. We are working with schools to make sure that they are not just dumping the student in random courses, but that they're still rigorous courses that can help the student meet their graduation requirements, but still have an engaging year while they're in school.
Petra, again, I just want to jump in here for those school leaders. I just want to reiterate, in upcoming programs, we will be having our ICAP and college and career readiness directors on here to speak about the possibility of what does internships look like, what does work-based learning look like within virtual programs. So again, when you see that 6-period day, please don't pigeonhole yourself into, well, that means I've got to enroll them in 6 classes or 6 core classes. 6 periods where one of those periods may even be an internship. So please continue thinking about all the different possibilities, just like you would in a traditional school. And Petra, I just wanted to give you a heads up. We got about 20 minutes left in this meeting.
Awesome, thank you. This assessments and reporting, be mindful of that of your students, because they may not be right there with you to arrange for testing. Make sure that all of that is taken care of still, especially for our juniors. Be planning for those events. They still have to do their testing. We have not received any waivers for that. So sometimes out of sight, out of mind, you want to make sure that you're tracking that. And I've already kind of hit on with special needs students, making sure that we are serving them appropriately in the best environment possible for them, the least restrictive environment. So on the coding of courses, can't reiterate that enough. Please use the course codes that are available and that they are appropriate. The names may change a little bit. There's flexibility in naming. You want to make sure that the standards and content are equivalent. So just make sure that you are monitoring all of that and that those grades from those courses. So make sure that you are reviewing the system for getting grading out of that online platform to your counselors or your registrars to that permanent transcript. So make sure that that process is still happening with teachers, that they are transferring those grades. Again, there's with the grading. If you're using a percentage to letter grades, make sure that that information is being transferred appropriately. Teacher connection is key. Can't reiterate this enough. The interaction has to be there, the interventions, the strategies to increase engagement. So that's not just letting a student not do any work, and then at the end of the 9 weeks, they have no grades. Avoid that. Teachers are still have to be evaluated. And so what is that plan that you're going to do, since you're not walking into classrooms and observing bulletin boards and things like that, or teacher interaction with students? What are you doing to make sure that you're inspecting what you expect from our teachers and students? So NCAA and SSAA eligibility considerations.
Teacher, just 1 second before we jump into that, I'd just like to pause. We've covered so much material already. If anyone that is still on the call has any questions regarding the course codes, because we're fixing to jump into NCAA and SSAA, and does anyone have any question regarding the course codes, whether you have to code it virtually or is it traditional course codes? What does it look like for attendance? What does it look like for basis of admission? What does it look like whether it's our teacher teaching it or a online teacher? Does anyone have any questions regarding that before we move on?
I have a quick question, and it's with regards to putting our grades into our SIS. Is that something that we need to do every week? I've been doing that, but with as many virtual students as we have now, it's quite a huge undertaking. So how does that work?
So if your teachers are keeping their regular grade book that's connected to your information system, that's actually the easiest way, because they are supposed to be monitoring that work. Whoever is over if you just have a person that's over your virtual program monitoring that, that's going to take some work. And so you want to make sure that you're documenting what those students are, printing any information, secondary source, because as you're manually, the more you go manual, it opens up the possibility for error. One reason we say weekly is because eligibility is still done weekly. And so you have to keep the grades current and keep them updated, and districts just vary. So whatever means is going to be where you can have an inputter and then somebody to review that. I highly recommend that happens, and that you actually publish your process, print it. It can stay internally, but that you have that process of how you went about pulling those grades from the system, reviewing them, and posting them into your student information system. Is that helpful? Any other questions?
Yes, thank you.
And I would Caroline, I'll just add to that real quick, from the superintendent's perspective, I would encourage, and you probably have already done this, but for those who may not have, check your policy book, because I've been hit on that as well. For example, our policy book, where I was a former superintendent, said that we had to enter 2 grades a week. And then when we went into the virtual platform, we were doing something similar to you and letting the CMS kind of dictate the progress through that. So my point is make sure you're not in contradiction with your school policy book, and review any policies that may hold you to the amount of grades that you put in per week. And that's just something, best practice, which I'm sure most of you have already done.
Great point. So here's what I was talking about. It's not about the number of hours you practice. It's about the number of hours your mind is present during practice. So this is, again, not having students just enrolled or in a virtual course and just out there, but monitoring what they're actually doing and what they're actually producing while they're in those spaces. NCAA has put out guidance on what they're doing. They consider online learning or blended learning or distance learning non-traditional courses. And so any of those means, that's their definition, is non-traditional. The course approval requirements, I want you to know that they are not doing that process this year. So any courses that your district already has uploaded into the NCAA platform, they will continue to use the courses that you've uploaded. So they're not going to do any other reviews, but typically they review those new courses. Credit recovery courses must follow the district credit recovery policy. So again, Aaron alluded to reviewing your district policies. There are some areas we just tend to overlook, but this is one of them on how students earn credit and what courses can be repeated. On academics, official records should be submitted via the portal. They still request that counselors get in and log into that high school portal, or the district, whoever, an athletic director reviews that information. You can use up to six core. Now they've changed that. So usually 7th semester, the students needed to be, pretty much eligible, but they're allowing 6 core courses after the 7th semester. To be considered for initial eligibility for this year's seniors. I wanted to just put this slide. One of my frustrations as a parent, as a counselor and a parent of student athletes, is to find that you've had this great athlete that's been in your district and they're not registered with the Eligibility Center. So if you want to make me upset, let me find out that you had a state champion and it's 2nd semester, senior year, and they're just now doing this process. But the students will be able to see how those waivers, the automatic waivers, are being applied for them. So encourage your coaches, your athletic directors to make sure that those students are in that eligibility center, keeping up with those alerts, fully aware of that process. And this is what it will show, whether it was waived automatically, whether or not they got a partial waiver, and what they can do about it. You're eligible for XYZ. So they have made those waivers available to students on their initial eligibility. Some exceptions for 2021, course evaluations. I mentioned that already. Students may complete their NCAA approved core courses through the online instruction, if that's what your district has chosen. And so it's no fault of the student that they were switched to this platform. And so they're aware of that. And the policy applies to all of the grade levels. So you have sophomores and juniors and who are involved in this process. And so it will be effective for this particular school year. And some pass-fail grading. I wanted to make sure and hit this, the way they're going to look at pass-fail grading, which I hope we're not doing that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that students are meeting the standards for the courses and earning letter grades. However, if the student earns a pass-fail grade, if they get a pass, they're going to count it, average it in with the 2.3. And if the student doesn't, then they're just going to use the core courses that are already available. And so that's another way that they're working with students in schools who are trying to get eligible. NCAA, these are some unaccepted courses. Of course, there's the thing that are not teacher-based instruction. So don't have security measures to verify the student. They do have some courses that won't be accepted if they find that out. But the main thing I wanted to point out was this top one. Allow students to take numerous courses at the same time. So you already have a struggling student. Your district has 6 courses a semester. The first semester of the senior year, the student has 12 courses. Okay, so those kinds of things is what they will still continue to look at because when you're talking about online learning. But just be mindful that they do have some unaccepted things that they will be looking at. Again, I just think this needs repeating. Teacher interaction is so key through this process, and to continue to inspect what you expect. on their courses, here's a link that will take you to be able to view what your courses are already approved for your district. You can use your 6-digit, I call it the ACT code, the CEB code, or you can actually search in this platform for your school or any school. And it will show you what courses the NCAA has for you. It will show you that's the first one that I came to. Searching for Mustang. There's only 2. Can you see the screen, Aaron?
Yes, we can.
And they're on top of it. Last updated February 20. That's awesome. So they're keeping their new courses there. You can see what the grading scale is that you have submitted for your district, because that's important. And all of your approved courses. If you want to make sure that all of your math courses are submitted, it will show you all of the courses that you submitted. So this is, you have to keep this updated. The last thing you want a student to do is to go through this process and then on our end, we haven't done that. For your online courses, if you're offering these online, you don't have to change anything. They're going to accept this as you have it, even though it was instructed online. There's nothing else that you need to do. So I wanted you to be aware of this site, and you can go back and see previous courses that you've had. If you're waiting on a course, you can see whether or not you have any unapproved courses. But it says pending individual review courses. That's what they are not going to do for this year. Okay.
Peter, as you close out on that spot there, could you just speak to, again, even though you're saying that they're not going to review it, I just want to be clear that the teacher interaction is still necessary. So even though they're not reviewing online, even if you're doing online, you still have to have some sort of teacher interaction, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and what I did was, anytime I had put a student online, and this is especially for, your athletes who are trying to qualify, I would print out all of that course stuff and put in their cumulative folder. Because if they ever ask you, and I've been asked to say that this student finished this course. Students who are athletes and eligibility cannot skip out of lessons. So sometimes you will have that diagnostic test at the beginning, and then it will skip you out of lessons and then let you just do what you need to work on. They have to complete the coursework and demonstrate that they've completed the coursework. So having that proof, and that and encourage your teachers as they're communicating with students to do it through the platform. And if they email, remind, and things like that are great. I used it all the time, but that communication, documentation, asking them, did you turn this paper in? The student had a question about XYZ assignment. I would just also have those things available. And it's better if they're kept within the platform that you're using. Great point, Aaron. And I just wanted to throw this in for effect. OSSAA and online courses, the talks about the student who is that virtual student. They have to attend at least 1 hour per day at the member site. Seniors need to pass courses required for graduation. The students have to be enrolled in 5 courses. And then this drop and withdrawal, so that knowing about the eligibility if students drop courses, that is still there. Just like if they withdrew a course at the school. Full-time virtual students are not eligible. And then I put the link there to the current OSSAA board policy. Anybody wants to go back, I pulled this language directly from their board policy. I'm not going to go over these, but the return to learn considerations, I always leave those in there. Just be mindful that we are in a cyber world, in that communication with FERPA and HIPAA. Make sure your teachers have had their trainings. There's some, we're still required to be first responders when we're seeing things. And so we have the hotline numbers there. I like to include those. That we're doing this through a health crisis. So our staff and student mental health, we want to provide those supports, and of course the physical things that we're going to need. I know you all have just swamped in the depths with all of this stuff. And then that we also have the social change that is connected with our students returning to learn. So being mindful of everything that's going around. Students in their homes are facing a lot. Teachers are facing a lot. So just be mindful of those things. And then there are tons of resources. All the links that I've referred to are here in the presentation, handbooks, COVID resources, and our department. They actually split the counseling department. So my position is actually 1 year old. And they split counseling with academic and our SEL information. But we also do prevention, college and career readiness, as Aaron mentioned, that Chelsea Hunt and Marissa Lightsey, who do ICAP and work-based learning and industry engagement, and also our family and community engagement division. There's my contact information. Email is the best way since we are teleworking, and I will get back with you on any questions that you have. And that's it. Aaron, do we have any questions? That was a lot of information.
It was. Just some major takeaways, guys. I know as we're wrapping up on time, please, this presentation I can either email to you or it will be housed in the OK Edge platform. I know that this was just an extensive amount of information, and I thank Petra for that. The kind of huge takeaways, if you would, is, there are things, even though there's so much flexibility going on right now, that NCAA will still not allow. So please, if nothing else, look at those. I think there was 3 slides there that Petra made on, the things that they will still not allow, even with all this flexibility and waivers. So take a look at those. I think those were very informational. At this time, we have about 10 minutes before it's 1 o'clock. I know most of you will be on the superintendent's all-call at 1:30, I believe her all-call is. So if we could entertain any questions, if anyone has any at this time. Petra, you must have just done that good of a job, covered it that well. So I did drop a link in, just a survey link. If you have time, if you had it till 1 o'clock scheduled and you got 10 minutes real quick, if you could just real quickly take that. I think it's 5 questions and there's only 1 question that you even have to type in. The rest of them, you just check a box. So I tried to make it as easy as you possibly could. Very DOK 1 right now. So if you would just please do that and let us know how we did on this presentation and how we can do better. And ultimately, our next meeting will again be on the 16th. Topics on that meeting will be special ed considerations, as well as social emotional learning considerations, because we know last thing we want is students to become isolated and feeling lost in this virtual world. And I think regardless of which session you listen to, teachers are the key. Teachers have to be at the center of everything we do. And so we know that's what makes learning successful. So again, I'll throw it back out there and try to use my teacher wait time. Does anyone have any questions for us, even if it's not about this session?
And Aaron, I just want to make sure that they're all aware that even with this and the earning of grades, that's really going to be important as we're tracking what students are doing, because the question was asked about how to, what is the process for getting that information. It's so important that we get that piece correctly as we're working virtually, and these systems, are not connected with our information system, for easier identification, even if it's having the teachers print and review those grades before they're submitted and sign, put into that information system, and then having students available to log in and look and make sure, is this reflective of what you've done? Because we have seen it where students have finished online courses and there's no record. They don't have the login anymore. The counselor told me I passed the course and all of that information. We do not want a mass statewide issue around grading because we've moved to virtual platforms.
anyone have any issues over basis of admission codes and attendance codes? Every presentation I've done, that question has come up. Are we all good with that? All right, because I'd hate for anyone to lose money, especially during these years. Definitely want to make sure everyone's okay and good with that. Well, guys, I am done. I won't keep you any longer. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your willingness to be a part of this. Really, we're going to evaluate the results of these surveys that come in and see if we should keep this meeting at 12 o'clock or move it to our 3:30 time slot, whichever works better, because I know how busy of y'all's day it is. So please take that survey and let us know. Appreciate you, and email us if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.